एक लैंप लाइट चाहिए। ओए हाथ ऐसे ठीक है इन्हें रिकॉर्ड
Good evening and a very warm welcome to the 19th All India Legal Services Authorities meet. Kashmir is proud to host a conference of such significance and magnitude. To begin the proceedings on a perfect note, may I request you all to rise for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाए तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे
Thank you very much indeed. May I add here that this performance was by the Specially Able Children of Hope Disability Center. Our chief guest, Honorable Justice Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud, Honorable Chief Justice of India, Honorable Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Judge Supreme Court of India, Honorable Justice Sanjeev Khanna, Judge Supreme Court of India, Shri Arjun Ram Meghwal, Honorable Minister of State, Ministry of Law and Justice, with independent charge, Honorable Lieutenant Governor, UT of J&K, Shri Manoj Sinha, Honorable Lieutenant Governor, UT of Ladakh, Brigadier Dr. B.T. Mishra, Honorable Justice N. Koteswar Singh, Chief Justice of High Court of J&K in Ladakh, Honorable Justice Tashi Rabstan, Judge High Court of J&K in Ladakh, Honorable Justice Atul Sridharan, Judge High Court of J&K Ladakh, and this galaxy of judicial and legal luminaries from across the country. A very warm welcome once again. Almost 3 decades back, a noble initiative and a novel initiative was taken. A well-meaning initiative to ensure accessibility to justice for one and all. Over time, this endeavor has metamorphosed into a movement, a mass movement of sorts. The fact that a conference of this magnitude and significance on legal services is being held is a testimony to the inspiring success of the legal services movement. To enhance, to accentuate the auspiciousness of the moment, may I request the dignitaries on the dais to light this lamp. Honorable Justice Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud, Chief Justice of the country, lighting the lamp. Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Judge Supreme Court of India. इस मौके पे आपकी तालियां जारी रहें तो बहुत अच्छा है। Honorable Lieutenant Governor of J&K, Shri Manoj Sinha, Honorable Lieutenant Governor of Ladakh, Brigadier Dr. B.D. Mishra, Honorable Chief Justice of J&K High Court and Ladakh High Court, Justice N. Koteswar Singh, Justice Tashi Rabstan, Judge High Court of J&K Ladakh, and Honorable Justice Atul Sridharan, Judge High Court of J&K Ladakh. Thank you very much indeed. A symbolic record of the importance, significance that we attach to legal services across the country and the strides that have been made in this direction over the years. Thank you once again. This time of the year happens to be the time of blossoms in Kashmir. Blossoms are at their zenith in Kashmir. The seasons of blossoms is at its zenith in Kashmir, and it would be ideal, it would be in the fitness of things to welcome our guests with bouquets. May I first of all request Honorable Justice Sanjeev Kumar Shukla to present a bouquet to our chief guest, Honorable Chief Justice of India, Justice Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud. Bouquet being presented by Honorable Justice Shri Sanjeev Kumar Shukla to our chief guest, Honorable Justice Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud, the Chief Justice of India. May I now request Ms. Sindhu Sharma, Honorable Justice Ms. Sindhu Sharma. I would request Honorable Justice Ms. Sindhu Sharma to present a bouquet to Honorable Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Judge Supreme Court of India. I now request Honorable Justice Rajneesh Oswal to present a bouquet to Honorable Justice Sanjeev Khanna, Judge Supreme Court of India. A bouquet to be presented by Honorable Justice Rajneesh Oswal to Honorable Justice Sanjeev Khanna, Judge Supreme Court of India. May I now request Honorable Justice Vinod Chatterjee Kaul to present a bouquet to Honorable Minister of State for Law and Justice with independent charge, Shri Arjun Ram Meghwal. I will now request Honorable Justice Sanjay Dhar to present a bouquet to Honorable Lieutenant Governor of J&K, Shri Manoj Sinha. Honorable Justice Sanjay Dhar presenting a bouquet to Honorable Lieutenant Governor of J&K, Shri Manoj Sinha. I now request Honorable Justice Puneet Gupta to present a bouquet to Lieutenant Governor of Ladakh, Brigadier Dr. B.D. Mishra. Honorable Justice Puneet Gupta presents a bouquet to Honorable Lieutenant Governor of Ladakh, Brigadier Dr. B.D. Mishra. May I now request Honorable Justice Javed Iqbal to present a bouquet to Honorable Justice N. Koteswar Singh, Chief Justice of the High Court of J&K and Ladakh. May I now request Honorable Justice Muhammad Akram Chaudhry to present a bouquet to Honorable Justice Tashi Rabstan, Judge High Court of J&K and Ladakh. Honorable Justice Mohammad Akram Chaudhary presenting a bouquet to Honorable Justice Tashir Ebstan, Judge High Court of J&K Ladakh. And finally, may I request Honorable Justice Rahul Bharati to present a bouquet to Honorable Justice Atul Sridharan, Judge High Court of J&K and Ladakh. Bouquet presentation over. It calls for a huge round of applause from you, I guess. Thank you very much indeed. As I mentioned right in the beginning, that almost 3 decades back, an initiative was taken and endeavor was started, and it has grown, it has flourished and metamorphosed into a mass movement. This sentiment is being reflected in the NALSA theme song, the National Legal Services Authority's theme song, which says, Ek muthi asma par hak hamara bhi to hai, because justice is meant for all, for one and all, irrespective of caste, creed, religion, social status, economic status, and it's these barriers that we aim to demolish while ensuring justice for one and all. Theme song of NALSA coming up for you.
सबके लिए सबके लिए उल्लास का सबके लिए विश्वास न्याय का सबके लिए अपने इस हिंदुस्ता पर हक हमारा भी तो है, इंसाफ के इस आशिया पर हक हमारा भी तो है। एक मुट्ठी आसमां पर हक हमारा भी तो है, एक मुट्ठी आसमां पर हक हमारा भी तो है।
ये ना सोचो दर्द हमारा कहीं सुना न जाएगा, अब न्यायालय खुद चलकर चौपालों तक आएगा।
लाचारों को न्याय मिलेगा, दुखियारों को न्याय मिलेगा, कमजोरों को न्याय मिलेगा, मज़लूमों को न्याय मिलेगा। अपने इस हिंदुस्ता पर हक हमारा भी तो है, उम्मीदों के इस गुलसिता पर हक हमारा भी तो है। एक मुट्ठी आसमां पर हक हमारा भी तो है, एक मुट्ठी आसमां पर हक हमारा भी तो है।
गरीब और कमजोरों को मुफ्त एवं सक्षम कानूनी सहायता के लिए प्रतिबद्ध विधिक सेवा प्राधिकरण नालसा, न्याय सबके लिए।
The theme song of NALSA giving voice to a very noble human sentiment, and that reminds me of the quote of a great thinker, Reinhold Niebuhr, who says, man's capacity for justice makes democracy possible, but man's inclination to injustice makes democracy necessary. And this is democracy in action. I would request Honorable Justice N. Koteshwar Singh, Chief Justice of High Court of J&K Ladakh, to make the formal welcome address. Honorable Justice N. Koteshwar Singh.
Good evening and Eid Mubarak. Honorable Dr. Justice Dhananjay Y. Chandrachud, Chief Justice of India, Honorable Justice Sanjay Krishan Kaul, Judge Supreme Court of India and Executive Chairperson of the National Legal Service Authority, Honorable Sri Justice Sanjeev Khanna, Judge Supreme Court of India and Chairperson, Supreme Court Legal Services Committee, Respected Sri Arjun Ram Meghwal ji, Honorable Minister of Law and Justice, Respected Sri Manoj Sinha ji, Honorable Lieutenant Governor of UT of Jammu and Kashmir, Respected Sri Brigadier Dr. B.D. Mishra ji, Honorable Lieutenant Governor of UT of Ladakh, my esteemed brother Justice Tashir Abstan, Executive Chairperson of J&K Legal Service Authority, and Honorable Mr. Justice Atul Sridharan, Executive Chairperson of UT of Ladakh, the Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court of India present today, the Honorable Chief Justices of High Courts, Executive Chairpersons of the Legal Service Authorities of the states and UTs, Chairpersons of the High Court Legal Services Committees, Honorable Members of the Central Authority of NALSA, Honorable Members of the Advisory Committee of NALSA, and all other dignitaries, esteemed guests of the dais. I would like to first welcome all the dignitaries present here in this beautiful land which has been immortalized in the words of Amir Khusro, the Persian poet who lived in the 13th century, enchanted by the beauty of Kashmir, who famously said, Gar Firdos bar ruye zamin ast, hami asto, hami asto, hami ast. If there is a heaven on earth, it is here, it is here, it is here. Kashmir is the cradle of civilization. It is here that the fourth Buddhist council was held in 72 AD at Kundalwana, Kashmir, presided by Vasumitra under the patronage of Kushan Emperor Kanishka. It was here that Adi Sankaracharya, the greatest exponent of Advaita Vedanta philosophy, expounding oneness with ultimate, had walked on this land in the first quarter of the 9th century and composed here Saundarya Lahari, which is acclaimed to be a masterpiece in Sanskrit literature. It is the land where Raj Tarangini, the historical chronicle of the kings of Kashmir, was written by Kalhana in awe-inspiring sonnet in Sanskrit in the 12th century CE. And it is this land where Sufism, advocating love, compassion, humanism, has been deeply infused in the cultural matrix with unique kind which is an amalgamation of Islamic thoughts with Kashmiri Buddhism and Hindu Saivite ways of thinking. Laleshwari, who was also known as Lalded, a Kashmiri mystic who had lived here during the 14th century, is considered to have greatly influenced Nuruddin Nand Rishi, one of the greatest Sufi saints of Kashmir, in whose memory the famous Sufi sign of Charar-e-Sharif is built. Tomorrow, the annual Amarnath Yatra will commence. Welcome to this ancient land of unsurpassed beauty to discuss on this universal theme of access to justice through legal services. I have no doubt that the present All India Meet of the NALSA, being organized in Srinagar, will also be another landmark in the history of Kashmir. Because of the unfortunate situation which was prevailing in the past, we could not have imagined of holding any such national level program attended by as many as 16 Honorable Supreme Court Judges, 22 Honorable Chief Justices of the High Courts, 57 Honorable High Court Judges. And we have 167 all from different parts of this country participants. In our living memory, we have not witnessed any such large gathering of pan-India level. This would not have been possible but for the bold initiative taken by Honorable Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, the executive chairperson of NALSA, whose heart and soul is deeply embedded in Kashmir, that all of us who are present here are able to witness, because of which they witnessed a beautiful Kashmir. I would request the gathering to give a big round of applause for Honorable Justice Kishan Kaul for having created this opportunity for all of us to be in Kashmir. Of course, we have also the blessings of the Honorable Chief Justice of India, the Patron-in-Chief, to enable us to organize this function in Srinagar. Kindly. Indian judiciary is like a lumbering giant. As I speak now, today, there are more than 1 crore 10 lakhs cases, civil cases pending. More than 3 crores 30 lakhs criminal cases, totaling more than 4.4 crores of cases in a country of 142 crores population. But there are only 814 High Court judges in 25 High Courts and about 22,677 judges in 688 district courts spread all over the country to deal with these huge pending cases. The judge population ratio in the country, considering the sanctioned strength of the judges at all levels, now stands at about 18 judges for every 10 lakhs of the population. How can this judiciary manage? Of course, neither do I have the mandate nor is there any scope for discussing the cause or solution for the same. But I can say, certainly without any hesitation, that the legal service movement under auspices of NALSA has been and will continue to play a vital role in reducing the enormous burden on the judicial system by resolving the pending disputes through Lok Adalats or mediation or other alternative dispute resolution mechanisms evolved. As the figure itself would demonstrate, a total of 30.57 lakh pending cases were disposed of during the first National Lok Adalat held in May 2023. If we continue this trend, I'm sure this will make a huge difference in reducing the burden on the judiciary. If Lok Adalats are supplemented by mediation, which has a huge potential, and if allowed to play its full potential, along with many revolutionary steps which have been already taken at the digital front with judicious use of the information technology, I'm confident legal services movement will make a huge difference in the lightening of the huge burden. The role of Lok Adalat, another fora in reducing the huge pendency of cases, is of course one of the later developments in the legal services movement. It initially started with providing free legal aid and assistance to the marginalized sections of the society. This act of rendering legal assistance to the individuals and groups has been accompanied by various activities to enlighten the citizens and creating awareness of the rights and duties of the citizens to enable each and every citizen of this country to enjoy the rights to the fullest and contribute to the development of the country. There is yet another area where the legal service movement has strengthened our legal Indian democracy. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, India's first Home Minister, had called the IS India's steel frame, referring to the bureaucratic structure which is supposed to hold a new nation. There cannot be no doubt about it. But it has not been highlighted in the popular psyche that Indian judiciary is perhaps another potent force of Indian democracy, which provides an integrative legal fabric on which Indian democracy is firmly saddled. With the Supreme Court at the apex of the pyramid of the legal structure and high courts in the middle and 688 district courts at the base, spread over the country, delivering justices on the basis of similar principles of justice, liberty, equality, assuring the dignity of the individuals, judiciary has bound this large, complex, heterogeneous country with diverse culture, language, habits and practices of 142 billion people. This common legal principle expositing and working through common legal principles based on liberating, innovative and humanitarian constitution of India binds this country in a manner which perhaps no other institution in this country does. This unique role of Indian judiciary in upholding the integrity and oneness of this country has been strengthened by the legal service movement enjoined upon Indian judiciary by a Parliamentary Act of Legal Service Authorities Act 1986. This additional duty has enabled Indian judiciary to remain embedded to the ground reality by reaching out to the citizens of the country, especially those who are marginalized and on the fringe of our developing economy. The primary duty and function of judges is to adjudicate disputes in accordance with law of the land. Apart from it, judges are not supposed to play any other role. There is no other nation in this world where judiciary has been given a wider non-adjudicatory role of social activism through various activities of creating awareness, providing legal aid and assistance to not only the litigants, but also the others, particularly who are marginalized, weaker sections of the society. Democracy in this country is safe so long as we have enlightened citizens fully aware not only of their rights, but also of duties and obligations to the society. And there should not be any section of the society which feels left out from the legal and social process. Importance of NALSA, in my view, lies in the fact that the legal services movement, which is being carried on under the leadership of NALSA, brings these disparate sections to national mainstream and thus strengthens democracy and helps in firmly establishing rule of law in this country. I would like to express my gratitude to all honorable judges of the Supreme Court, Lieutenant Governor of Jammu Kashmir, and Lieutenant Governor UT of Ladakh, and Chief Justices and judges of the High Courts of this country, all the distinguished guests, high officials of both UTs of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, retired judges, senior advocates, members of the bar, judges of the district judiciary and students, members of the media, both electronic and print, and all those who are present today. Before I conclude, I must express our deep gratitude to the administration of UT of Jammu and Kashmir under the leadership of Sri Manoj Sinha ji, Lieutenant Governor of J&K, for pulling out all the stops so that the visiting dignitaries are accorded the warmest welcome and have a comfortable stay in Kashmir with least inconvenience. Without the generous grant of etiquette funded by the administration, we could not have organized this national level in this manner. The UT of Ladakh has also readily agreed to contribute to make this function more colorful and attractive. I again thank all the persons, all present here, on behalf of myself, my colleagues in the bench, and on behalf of the High Court of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, and wish all those who have come from different parts of the country an enjoyable and comfortable stay in Kashmir. I would end with this sloka from an ancient verse, which reflects the theme of NALSA. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. May all be happy. Sarve Santu Niramaya. May all be free from diseases. Sarve Bhadrani Pashantu. May all see things auspicious. Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhaga Bhavet. May none be subjected to misery. This is what NALSA ultimately aims to do. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Your Lordship. Honorable Justice N. Koteshwar Singh referred to certain key mystics of the land of Kashmir, Laleshwari and Sheikhul Alam in particular. Sufism, as you all know, believes in oneness, harmony. It doesn't believe in discrimination. And I feel inclined to say, taking cue from what Honorable Justice Koteshwar Singh said, that through legal services, judiciary has taken a Sufi route. And that's the best route to follow. May I now request Honorable Lieutenant Governor of the UT of Ladakh, Brigadier Dr. B.D. Mishra, to express his impressions on this occasion.
Light on hoti. Thank you.
Honorable Dr. Justice Dhananjay Chandrachud, Chief Justice of India, Honorable Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Judge Supreme Court of India, Honorable Justice Sanjeev Khanna, Supreme Court of India, Honorable Justice Pankaj Mittal, Judge Supreme Court of India, Shri Arjun Ram Meghwal ji, Honorable Union Minister for Law and Justice, Shri Manoj Sinha ji, Honorable Lieutenant Governor of UT Jammu and Kashmir, Honorable Justice Tashi Rafsan ji, High Court of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, Honorable Justice Atul Sridharan, Judge High Court of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh, Honorable Justice Sanjeev Kumar, Judge High Court, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, Judges of High Court, Jammu and Kashmir and other courts, students, media persons and guests. Ladies and gentlemen, the National Legal Service Authority, it aims at giving help and welfare and justice to all poor, weak and marginalized. And therefore, I would start my talk with a Risha from Rig Veda. And that is, Ano Bhadra Kritavo, Ano Bhadra Krito Yantu Vishwato, Dadmasau Aparitasa Udvida, Devanu Yatha, Sadmrit Vidha, Asanna Prayo, Rakshitaro Dive Dive. It means, let good news, let good words come to us from all corners of the globe. Let no bad news come from anywhere. And this body, this noble body, which is given to us by the gods, let it be for others' welfare, and let gods preserve it and protect it day and day and day. Ladies and gentlemen, for last few days in Jammu and Srinagar, we have been witnessing unprecedented footfall of judges and legal luminaries. And this has been graced by nobody less than our Chief Justice of India, Dr. Dhananjay Y. Chandrachud himself. And his presence in this assemblage adds honor and dignity to this program. Justice N. Koteshwar Singh, Chief Justice of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh High Court, and his team, they have organized it so well, and we are so happy to participate in it. We have pleasure to be here. And today, the National Legal Services Authority, under that aegis we have assembled here, and it is very competently and so ably being led and being chaired by Justice Sanjay Kaul ji. National Legal Service Authority is doing a great job, very big job, and more so, it is more important for the purpose that it is for the weak, the marginalized and the poor. Now, in our country, National Legal Service, it has been existing from time immemorial. And we find it in Rig Veda as also in Atharvaveda, which were written about 5,000 years before the Christ. Ladies and gentlemen, Vishnugupta Sharma Aka Kautilya, in his Arthashastra, which he wrote, he lived from 350 BC to 275 BC. He wrote Arthashastra, and that also this particular service finds mention. And circa 57 BC, poet Kalidasa, he has described this very well in his play Abhigyan Shakuntalam, in the 6th act of Abhigyan Shakuntalam. And the story goes that King Dushyanta's court, King Dushyanta, he was king of Hastinapur from Ikshvak dynasty. In his court, one day, two of his security men, they were on normal patrolling, routine patrolling in the city. And there, these two security men were Suchaka and Januka. While patrolling, they caught hold of a man. His name was Dhivara. He was a fisherman. He was selling the signet, royal signet, to a goldsmith. They caught hold of him and they brought him to the chief security head, whose name was Shalaka. They brought Dhivara to Shala, and Shala was there sitting on the judgment. And the Dhivara, he was very perturbed. He was very sad. And he thought today he'll be convicted, he'll be sentenced, and maybe because the offense was signet of the king, he might be put to death. He had no advocate or lawyer to defend him. He had no means, no resources. But the system there, those days, that early, 57 BC, the system was there and the system did good to him. The man was found not guilty and he was exonerated. Ladies and gentlemen, we are following that tradition under our very competent Judge of Supreme Court, Sri Kaulji. We are reliving that and we are promoting it. And this good old tradition today also is doing good for the poor, for the marginalized, and for the weak. Now coming to my territory, Union Territory, Ladakh, we have been making good progress on legal services in our territory. Though we are only 3.5 years old, but we have made good progress. We have got state legal service in place, we have got district legal service in place, and we have got Taluk Legal Service Committee in place. We have carried out 223 awareness programs in 2022. And with that, 22,317 people have been benefited. Also, 63 legal awareness programs we have held in our two districts, that is District Leh and District Kargil. And in that, 3,229 people have been made aware of this opportunity, this service. Ladies and gentlemen, we have got 319 villages. We have got 193 panchayat. Our area is 59,146 square kilometer. Far-flung areas, we have got hamlets which are far-flung, mostly non-reachable, but we are trying. We are trying to reach out to each and every hamlet, each and every person, and telling them about this great service that is the National Legal Service Authority. And I'm sure that we will be further expanding it and making good progress for the success, for the benefit of the weak, poor and marginalized. Ladies and gentlemen, we are putting in all effort in this direction, and we are very sure that other places also this is picking up. And before I conclude, I want to mention that we in Ladakh, we are following the dictum of great philosopher Reinhold Niebuhr. And what he said in his serenity prayer, we are following that. And I quote, God give me the serenity. God give me the serenity to accept things. God give me the serenity to accept things which I cannot change. God give me the courage to change what I can. God give me the courage to change what I can. And God give me the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you. Jai Hind. Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat.
Sir, thank you very much indeed. I will now request Honorable Lieutenant Governor of the UT of J&K, Shri Manoj Sinha, to share his impressions with us on this occasion. Shri Manoj Sinha.
भारत के माननीय मुख्य न्यायाधीश न्यायमूर्ति डी.वाई. चंद्रचूड़ जी, माननीय न्यायाधीश सर्वोच्च न्यायालय न्यायमूर्ति संजय किशन कौल जी, सर्वोच्च न्यायालय के माननीय न्यायाधीश न्यायमूर्ति संजीव खन्ना जी, भारत सरकार के विधि एवं न्याय मंत्री हमारे मित्र अर्जुन मेघवाल जी, जम्मू कश्मीर उच्च न्यायालय के मुख्य न्यायाधीश न्यायमूर्ति कोटेश्वर सिंह जी, आदरणीय बी.डी. मिश्रा जी जो लद्दाख के उपराज्यपाल हैं, जस्टिस श्रीधरन, जस्टिस दासी, सभागार में उपस्थित सर्वोच्च न्यायालय के सभी सम्माननीय न्यायाधीश, विभिन्न मुख्य न्यायाधीशगण, जम्मू कश्मीर लद्दाख हाई कोर्ट के सभी न्यायाधीश, बाकी राज्यों और संघ राज्य क्षेत्रों के सभी मुख्य न्यायाधीश, हमारे एडवाइजर राजीव राय भटनागर जी, जम्मू कश्मीर प्रशासन के मुख्य सचिव अरुण मेहता जी, हमारे एडवोकेट जनरल, जम्मू कश्मीर प्रशासन के हमारे सभी सहयोगी, देश के अन्य राज्यों से ऑल इंडिया लीगल सर्विस अथॉरिटी मीट में उपस्थित सभी सम्मानित महानुभाव, देवियों और सज्जनों, कानून मुझे आता नहीं है और सांस्कृतिक और ऐतिहासिक पक्ष हमारे मुख्य न्यायाधीश महोदय ने बहुत विस्तृत ढंग से रख दिया है। मैं इस अवसर का लाभ इसलिए उठाता हूं कि देश भर के न्यायाधीश लोग आए हैं, तो मुझे जो जम्मू कश्मीर समझ में आया है, मैं समझता हूं मुझे 2-3 मिनट में उसे बताना चाहिए। अगर मंत्री की अनुमति हो तो मैं आगे बढ़ूं। पिछले महीने G20 मीटिंग का यहाँ आयोजन हुआ और सफलतापूर्वक आयोजन हुआ। देश और दुनिया की निगाह लगी हुई थी, अनेक प्रकार की शंकाएं व्यक्त की जा रही थीं। वैसे वर्किंग ग्रुप की मीटिंग थी, लेकिन जो मुख्य बैठक होने वाली है गोवा में, जिसमें मंत्री लोग होंगे, उससे ज्यादा चर्चा इसकी हुई और मुझे संतोष इस बात का है कि देश में नहीं दुनिया में भी इसकी व्यापक चर्चा हुई और जम्मू कश्मीर की पहचान अब देश के बाहर भी इसके कारण बन गई। तब से लेकर के और आज तक, आज का जो आयोजन है लीगल सर्विसेज के राष्ट्रीय कॉन्फ्रेंस का, इसके बीच में भी राष्ट्रीय स्तर के कई आयोजन हुए, इसका मैं जिक्र करना मुनासिब समझता हूं। देश भर के सभी राज्यों के डेयरी मिनिस्टर्स और भारत सरकार के केंद्रीय मंत्री, दोनों केंद्रीय राज्य मंत्री, देश के इंजीनियर्स एसोसिएशन की नेशनल मीट और चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स की नेशनल मीट अब श्रीनगर में हो रही है। ये बदलता हुआ जम्मू कश्मीर और श्रीनगर है। मैं और भी बातें जोड़ सकता हूं, लेकिन वक्त की कमी है, इसलिए मैं संक्षेप में ही यही बात खत्म करता हूं। मैं अपनी ओर से, जम्मू कश्मीर प्रशासन की ओर से, राष्ट्र के मुकुटमणि कहे जाने वाले यूनियन टेरिटरी में देश की न्याय व्यवस्था से जुड़े हुए सभी सम्मानित हस्तियों का स्वागत करता हूं, अभिनंदन करता हूं। मुझे बताया गया है कि लीगल सर्विसेज अथॉरिटी की नेशनल लेवल की यह जम्मू कश्मीर में पहली मीटिंग है। अनेक चीजें यहां पहली बार हो रही और एक का जिक्र मैंने जम्मू में किया था, 1-2 का जिक्र करना मुनासिब समझता हूं। यहां का पटवारी कलेक्टर से ज्यादा पावरफुल होता था, क्योंकि 200 लोग थे जो लैंड रिकॉर्ड पढ़ते थे। हमारे यहाँ एक बड़े साहित्यकार हुए श्रीलाल शुक्ल, उनकी एक बड़ी प्रमुख पुस्तक है राज दरबारी, आप इलाहाबाद रहे तो आपने पढ़ी भी होगी। उसमें एक पात्र है लंगड़, तो रेवेन्यू रिकॉर्ड के लिए उसका एक पैर खराब था, वो रेवेन्यू ऑफिसर्स के पास जाने लगा तो लगा दूसरा पैर खराब हो जाएगा, तो उसने छोड़ दिया और मैं कभी कभी हंसी में मजाक में कहता हूं कि अगर महाभारत काल में लैंड रिकॉर्ड डिजिटाइज रहा होता तो शायद 5 ही गांव मांग रहे थे पांडव, ये युद्ध न हुआ होता। अब जम्मू कश्मीर प्रशासन ने सब कुछ डिजिटाइज कर दिया। 3 भाषाओं में, हिंदी, इंग्लिश, उर्दू, ये तीनों भाषाओं में दे जम्मू कश्मीर के नागरिकों को। तो एक जो साम्राज्य था वो साम्राज्य खत्म हो गया। जहां सामान्य आदमी इससे प्रसन्न है वहीं कुछ लोगों को परेशानी है, वो मैं जानता हूं, और मैं चाहता हूं कि इस तरह की परेशानी आगे भी लोगों को बनी रहे जो इस व्यवस्था को चला रहे थे। मैं न्याय के संबंध में बात करने से पहले इस सभा का ध्यान 75 वर्ष पूर्व की एक घटना की तरफ आकृष्ट करना चाहता हूं। 24 नवंबर सन 1948 को संविधान सभा में अनुच्छेद 39 को लेकर जो बहस चल रही थी, उस समय हमारे देश के नीति निर्माताओं ने ऑब्लिगेशन ऑफ स्टेट, ऑब्लिगेशन ऑफ द स्टेट की बहस में ये सुनिश्चित किया कि नागरिकों के रक्षण के लिए सरकार जिम्मेदारी उठाए। बहुत वर्षों से कुछ पढ़ने का जब अवसर मिला संविधान सभा की कार्रवाई, तो उसमें स्पष्ट रूप से मुझे प्रतीत होता है कि समाज के कमजोर वर्गों तक न्याय सुनिश्चित करने के लिए एक्सेस टू लीगल सर्विस की भावना हमारे संविधान में सर्वोपरि शुरू से रही है। मुझे स्पष्ट रूप से नहीं पता, लेकिन उस दिन 24 नवंबर 1948 की कार्रवाई के दौरान उड़ीसा के ही एक मेंबर से श्री बी दास, और उन्होंने कहा संविधान सभा में 50% से अधिक वकील हैं। ऑब्लिगेशन ऑफ द स्टेट की बहस को मैं न्यायिक व्यवस्था और लोगों के लिए सुगम न्याय पर उनके विचार और उनकी प्रतिबद्धता का रिफ्लेक्शन मानता हूं। मुझे भी याद है कि उड़ीसा से ही संविधान सभा के दूसरे सदस्य श्री लोकनाथ मिश्र ने कहा कि हमें ईमानदारी, सच्चाई तथा साहस के साथ ऐसी व्यवस्था निर्मित करनी है जो नागरिकों में कोई अंतर नहीं बरतेगा, ताकि सभी नागरिक गौरवपूर्वक ये कह सकें कि असमानता, अन्याय के प्रतिकार स्वरूप हमारे पास मूलभूत एक संरक्षण है। मैं समझता हूं कि न्याय की यही भावना है जो प्राचीन काल से हमारी संस्कृति में रची बसी है, और मिश्रा जी ठीक कह रहे थे, वैदिक काल से ही इस बात पर बल दिया गया है। और मैं समझता हूं कि कानूनी प्रक्रिया पूरी करने में विलंब न हो, ये हमारे धर्म भी कहते हैं, क्योंकि इसमें देरी का मतलब धर्म की पराजय होती है। उस दृष्टिकोण से मैं समझता हूं कि लीगल सर्विसेज अथॉरिटी एक्ट 1987 भारतवर्ष की न्याय व्यवस्था में एक क्रांतिकारी कदम था, जो ये सुनिश्चित करता है कि समाज के कमजोर वर्गों को मुफ्त एवं सक्षम लीगल सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड की जाएंगी, तथा देश का कोई भी नागरिक आर्थिक या किसी अन्य कारण से न्याय प्राप्त करने से वंचित नहीं रहेगा। उस एक्ट के द्वारा देश की संसद ने यह भी सुनिश्चित किया कि लोक अदालतें आयोजित की जाएं, ताकि न्यायिक व्यवस्था समान अवसर के आधार पर सबके लिए न्याय और अधिक सुगम बना सके। 11 अक्टूबर 1987 से लेकर वर्तमान समय तक भारत के मुख्य न्यायाधीशों के संरक्षण में देश भर में फैले लीगल सर्विस अथॉरिटी ने समावेशी कानूनी प्रणाली को बढ़ावा देते हुए वंचित वर्गों के कानूनी अधिकारों की रक्षा में अत्यंत ही महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाई। मैं राजनीति के शुरुआती दिनों में, मुझे याद है जस्टिस HR खन्ना की वो बात, जब उन्होंने कहा था कि अगर कोई इंसान गरीबी की वजह से न्याय पाने से वंचित रह जाता है तो इसका मतलब है कि कहीं न कहीं हमारे सिस्टम में समस्या है। लीगल सर्विस अथॉरिटीज एक्ट ने करोड़ों नागरिकों को न्याय दिलाने में कामयाबी पाई है, और मुझे लगता है कि आज भी दूर दराज के गांवों में, इलाकों में स्टेट की लीगल सर्विस अथॉरिटी जो काम कर रही है वो समाज में धर्म की यानी न्याय की स्थापना करने में सक्षम हुई है। जम्मू कश्मीर में विधिक सेवा केंद्रों की स्थापना की गई है ताकि आम नागरिकों को वर्चुअल मोड में के माध्यम से भी केस फाइल करने में आसानी हो। श्रीनगर के दोनों विंग के अलावा 13 जिलों में भी विधिक सेवा केंद्रों की स्थापना की गई है। ये विवरण है, मुझे लगता है इसको पढ़ के मैं समय नहीं बर्बाद करना चाहता हूं, लेकिन मैं ये संतोष से कह सकता हूं कि जम्मू कश्मीर में 5000 से ज्यादा इसके कार्यक्रम आयोजित किए गए हैं और उस दिशा में हमने एक अच्छी एक लंबी यात्रा की है। लेकिन दशकों तक जो यहाँ के नागरिक वंचित थे, अनेक ऐसे लोग थे जिन्हें द्वयम दर्जे का जीवन जीने के लिए मजबूर होना पड़ता था। हाईली क्वालिफाइड बच्चे इसलिए नौकरी नहीं पा सकते थे क्योंकि उनका जन्म एक विशेष वर्ग में हुआ था। लाखों नागरिकों के संघर्ष के बाद यह व्यवस्था खत्म हुई और 800 से ज्यादा कानून जो देश की संसद ने पारित किया था और जम्मू कश्मीर में जिन कानूनों को लागू नहीं किया गया था, आज वो कानून जम्मू कश्मीर में भी लागू कर दिए गए हैं। और मैं मानता हूं कि इसके कारण ढेर सारे ऐसे लोग जो अपने अधिकारों से वंचित थे, आज उन्हें उनका अधिकार मिला है। बाबा साहब भीमराव अंबेडकर ने 1950 में हमें चेतावनी देते हुए कहा था कि हम विरोधी भावनाओं से परिपूर्ण जीवन में प्रवेश कर रहे हैं। राजनैतिक जीवन में तो हमारे यहां समता होगी, लेकिन सामाजिक तथा आर्थिक जीवन में असमानता। जम्मू कश्मीर इस असमता का जीता जागता उदाहरण था। यह उन मूल्यों पर आघात था जो हमारे भारत के संविधान में निहित है। मुझे खुशी है कि आज जम्मू कश्मीर समता, सामाजिक समरसता के मार्ग पर आगे बढ़ रहा है और हर एक नागरिक के सपनों को और आकांक्षाओं को पूरा करने की हर संभव कोशिश की जा रही है। प्राचीन काल से कानून का शासन, रूल ऑफ लॉ, हमारे सामाजिक आर्थिक विकास का मुख्य आधार रहा है और समता की स्थापना ने न्याय के प्रति आस्था को सशक्त बनाने का सदैव काम किया है। मैं मानता हूं कि उस दिशा में भी पिछले 3 वर्षों में जम्मू कश्मीर ने अच्छी प्रगति की है। लीगल सर्विसेज में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की दृष्टि से 22 फ्रंट ऑफिसेस, 197 लीगल लिटरेसी क्लब, 207 लीगल एंड क्लिनिक तथा 546 पैरा लीगल वॉलंटियर्स वंचित वर्ग के नागरिकों को अपनी सेवाएं प्रदान कर रहे हैं। विक्टिम कंपनसेशन स्कीम को नेशनल लीगल सर्विस अथॉरिटी के मानकों के अनुरूप लाया गया है। 21-22 के वित्त वर्ष में 31 लोगों को तथा 22-23 में 46 लोगों को इस योजना का लाभ सुनिश्चित किया गया है। इन सभी आंकड़ों में छिपी उपलब्धियां, उससे जुड़े संकल्पों का सिर्फ एक ही मकसद है और वह है न्याय का मंदिर सभी के लिए सुलभ हो, न्याय की प्रक्रिया सुगम हो तथा हमारी संवैधानिक व्यवस्था एवं कानून के नियमों का संरक्षण हो, उनका अक्षरशः पालन हो। मैं समझता हूं कि कई वक्ता हैं, लेकिन एक छोटी बात करके मैं बात खत्म करूंगा कि 2019-20 में 67,000 करोड़ रुपए खर्च करके 9,229 प्रोजेक्ट यहां पूरे हुए थे। आज हमारी रफ्तार 10 गुनी हो गई है। पिछले फाइनेंशियल ईयर में 92,500 से ज्यादा प्रोजेक्ट हमने पूरे किए। और ट्रांसपेरेंसी की अगर मैं बात करूं तो मुझे लगता है कि देश के किसी राज्य से कम हम नहीं हैं, आगे ही होंगे। और हमारी कोशिश है कि एक एक पैसे का हिसाब जो आम आदमी के टैक्स से आता है वो यहाँ का नागरिक जान सके और सब कुछ ट्रांसपेरेंट ढंग से खर्च किया जा सके। यह व्यवस्था हम बनाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। माननीय मुख्य न्यायाधीश महोदय, मैंने इसलिए इस विषय को यहाँ रखा कि देश भर के लोग आए हैं, कुछ घूमा होगा जम्मू श्रीनगर में, कुछ इधर उधर गए होंगे, यहाँ की वास्तविकता भी मेरे शब्दों में सुन करके जाएं। इसलिए मैंने थोड़ा विषय से हट करके बातें कही हैं। मैं एक बार फिर से अपनी ओर से, जम्मू कश्मीर प्रशासन की ओर से देश भर से आए हुए अतिथियों का हृदय से स्वागत करता हूं, अभिनंदन करता हूं। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच इंडीड। एलजी महोदय ने आरंभ में कहा कि कानून मुझे आता नहीं है, लेकिन जम्मू कश्मीर का बच्चा बच्चा जानता है कि इंसाफ, न्याय एलजी महोदय को खूब आता है। मेरी विनती है ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर ऑफ स्टेट लॉ एंड जस्टिस विद इंडिपेंडेंट चार्ज श्री अर्जुन राम मेघवाल जी से कि वो इस मौके पर अपने विचार हमारे साथ साझा करें। श्री अर्जुन राम मेघवाल।
नाइनटीन्थ ऑल इंडिया लीगल सर्विसेज अथॉरिटीज मीट का ये सुंदर अवसर, और ये अवसर मिला हमें शेर कश्मीर इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस सेंटर श्रीनगर में। इस हॉल में आप सबकी उपस्थिति, मंच पे हम जो जितने भी लोग बैठे हैं उनको बहुत ऊर्जा दे रही है। और इसी मंच से जो हमारे मुख्य अतिथि हैं वो आपको भी संबोधन करेंगे, लेकिन मैं उनका धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं कि इतनी बड़ी इस लीगल फ्रेटर्निटी में आपने आकर के आप सबका सम्मान तो बढ़ाया है, हमारा भी सम्मान बढ़ाया है। आपका बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन। मंच पर उपस्थित ऑनरेबल डॉक्टर जस्टिस D.Y. चंद्रचूड़ जी, ऑनरेबल जस्टिस संजय किशन कौल जी, जज सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया, ऑनरेबल जस्टिस संजय खन्ना जी, जज सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया, ऑनरेबल लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर UT ऑफ जम्मू एंड कश्मीर आदरणीय मनोज सिन्हा जी, ऑनरेबल ब्रिगेडियर BD मिश्रा जी, ऑनरेबल लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर UT ऑफ लद्दाख, ऑनरेबल जस्टिस N. कोटेश्वर सिंह जी, चीफ जस्टिस हाई कोर्ट ऑफ J&K लद्दाख, J&K एंड लद्दाख, ऑनरेबल जस्टिस ताशी रफ्तान, जज हाई कोर्ट J&K एंड लद्दाख, एंड अतुल श्रीधरन जी और सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ऑनरेबल जजेज, सभी राज्यों के माननीय चीफ जस्टिस, नालसा से संबंधित राज्य विधिक सेवा के प्राधिकरण सेवा के सभी चेयरमैन और सेक्रेटरी, राज्य विधिक सेवा और जिला विधिक सेवा के भी सभी अध्यक्ष और सचिवगण, अन्य सभी अधिकारीगण, चीफ सेक्रेटरी से लेकर के सभी अधिकारी, हमारे भटनागर साहब भी आए हुए हैं, सलाहकार साहब, और मीडिया के सभी साथी, देवियों और सज्जनों। हमारे मित्र हैं मनोज सिन्हा जी, उन्होंने मुझे कह दिया कानून मुझे आता नहीं और कानून मुझे दे दिया गया, तो मुझे अब सीखना पड़ रहा है मनोज सिन्हा जी। हाँ, ना कि मैंने कानून की पढ़ाई की है, लेकिन मैं आपसे ही सीखूंगा, क्योंकि आप लोकसभा में अब जब बैठते थे तो कानून की बहुत चर्चा करते थे ना। आपने मुझे पूछा था आपने LLB कब किया, क्या वकील रहे क्या, मुझे क्या पता, मुझे कानून मंत्रालय अब मिल जाएगा, तो आपसे सीखेंगे मनोज सिन्हा जी, हमारे मित्र हैं। देखिए, ये श्रीनगर है साहब, ये ऋषि मुनियों की धरती है, पीरों, फकीरों और सूफी संतों की भी धरती है, ये शंकराचार्य जी की भी धरती है और मां शारदा की भूमि है। बहुत इसमें विविधता है श्रीनगर में, ज्ञान और ध्यान की भूमि भी है। जब शंकराचार्य जी का जिक्र आता है तो यहां अमीर खुसरो का भी जिक्र आता है। अमरनाथ की यात्रा शुरू करके आए हैं सिन्हा साहब आप शायद, या कल से प्रारंभ हो रही है। इस अमृत काल में आज हम यहां बैठे हैं, ये बहुत ही रिच कॉन्फ्रेंस है, मैं इसको बहुत ही रिच कॉन्फ्रेंस कहता हूं। मैं सुबह जब जानकारी ले रहा था माननीय चीफ जस्टिस N. कोटेश्वर सिंह जी से, तो मुझे जानकारी दी गई थी कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट के भी माननीय न्यायमूर्तिगण काफी बड़ी संख्या में यहाँ आए हैं, सभी राज्यों के चीफ जस्टिस ऑलमोस्ट, कोई एक उड़ीसा या किसी के कोई कारण से नहीं आए बस। तो ये बहुत ही रिच एक गैदरिंग है मैं इस इतनी बड़ी रिच गैदरिंग में बोलने का जो मुझे अवसर मिला, वो अवसर दिया, इसलिए कोटेश्वर जी आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, अभिनंदन। मैं शुरू करता हूं G20 जिसका मनोज सिन्हा जी ने जिक्र किया। देखिए, दो ऐसे इवेंट हैं जिनकी प्रेसिडेंसी इंडिया के पास है इस बार। जनरली हम G20 का जिक्र तो हम करते हैं और करना भी चाहिए, ये हमारे लिए गर्व की बात है। लेकिन एक और इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है जिसकी प्रेसिडेंसी भी इंडिया के पास है और उसका इस क्षेत्र से विशेष संबंध है, जिसको हम शंघाई कोऑपरेशन मेंबर कंट्रीज कहते हैं। और ये कभी न कभी सांस्कृतिक धरोहर का, सांस्कृतिक धरातल का आदान प्रदान का क्षेत्र भी रहा। देखिए, आज के समय आज के दिन जब हमने ये गाना सुना, मुझे पता नहीं ये अच्छा बना होगा, हक हमारा भी तो है। मैं इसको पूरा नहीं सुन पाया। मैं कल्चर मिनिस्ट्री को भी CGI साहब देखता हूं, तो मैं इसको दोबारा सुनूंगा कि इसमें क्या हम ऐड कर सकते हैं। संतोष जी, आपको बता रहा हूं, हक हमारा तो है, हक हमारा भी तो है। बहुत सुंदर मुझे लगता है कि उक्तियां हैं। ये हक हमारा भी तो है, नालसा न्याय सबके लिए, मुझे यहां बैठे बैठे याद आया जब न्यायमूर्ति भगवती जी ने कहा कि कोई पोस्ट कार्ड लिखेगा तो मैं PIL मंजूर करूंगा। यह हक हमारा भी तो है, यही संदेश दे रहा था, यही संदेश दे रहा था। ये इस तरह की हमारे इंडियन जुडिशियल सिस्टम में बहुत से सुधार हुए हैं। जब संसद 1987 में 1987 में संसद में जब नालसा से संबंधित एक्ट पास हो रहा था, तब भी वहां संसद की लोकसभा में, राज्यसभा में आवाजें गूंजी होगी, हक हमारा भी तो है। ये जो हम यात्रा करते करते यहां आए हैं और इस यात्रा में आज की जो गैदरिंग है, उस संबंध में मुझे दो तीन चीजें कहनी है कि एक तो मुझे लगता है काम तेजी से आगे बढ़ा भी है, लेकिन एक लीगल एड डिफेंस काउंसिल सिस्टम शायद अभी पूरा कुछ इस काम इसमें बाकी है। कौल साहब बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं, जस्टिस कौल साहब कह रहे हैं बाकी है, तो इसको पूरा करने का हम सब मिलकर के काम करेंगे। मुझे लगता है इसको पूरा करना भी चाहिए। इसमें एक ऑफिस खोलेंगे, 3 वकील होंगे, एक बड़ा काम है। अब इसमें किस तरह की जरूरत है, क्या आवश्यकता रहेगी, वो मैं जरूर आपसे चर्चा करूंगा और जो भी सहायता की जरूरत होगी जरूर उपलब्ध होगी। देखिए, एक सिस्टम जो पहले से चला हुआ है, कुछ नालसा के साथ साथ भी चल रहा है, पैरालीगल वॉलंटियर का, वो भी तेजी से न्याय सबको उपलब्ध हो इस दिशा में काम कर रहा है। पैनल लॉयर भी हैं, वो भी इस दिशा में काम कर रहे हैं। कैदियों को भी सहायता नालसा के थ्रू दी जा रही है, ऐसी भी मुझे जानकारी मिली, और अवेयरनेस कैंप भी नालसा समय समय पे लगा रहा है। तो मैं इस अवसर पर कह सकता हूं, इस मंच से खड़ा होकर के, कि इंडियन लीगल सर्विसेज अथॉरिटीज की सेवाएं बहुत ही सराहनीय है और मुझे इसकी उपस्थिति गांव में भी नजर आती है। मैं एक बार नालसा का कुछ प्रेजेंटेशन लेने गया था, तब भी मैंने कहा था कि इसकी उपस्थिति ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों में भी नजर आती है। इसका मतलब न्याय सबके लिए है, हक हमारा भी तो है। इस दिशा में नालसा तेजी से काम कर रहा है और हमारे न्यायमूर्ति, हमारे चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया और हमारे न्यायमूर्ति संजय किशन कौल साहब का मुझे लगता है जोरदार मार्गदर्शन मिल रहा है इस संबंध में, ऐसी मुझे जानकारी। मैं आपका भी अभिनंदन करता हूं और धन्यवाद करता हूं। देखिए, आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव हम सबने मनाया। 75 साल हम कैसे चले, कहां तक पहुंचे, मंजिल मिली या नहीं मिली, इसका विश्लेषण हमने सबने किया। लेकिन अब प्रधानमंत्री जी ने एक टारगेट हमको दिया है कि 2047 तक हमें विकसित भारत बनना है। तो ये अमृतकाल का पहला साल और इसमें भी नालसा की ये मीट, और वो भी श्रीनगर में, ऐसे पवित्र स्थान से जब आवाज आएगी तो मुझे लगता है, मुझे याद आता है कि कल्लन ने राजतरंगिणी में कश्मीर का इतिहास लिखा है, और आज हम इस हॉल से नालसा का भी इतिहास लिखने जा रहे हैं। ये भी बहुत माइलस्टोन ये मीट होने वाली है। देखिए ऑनरेबल चीफ जस्टिस साहब, ई कोर्ट में आपकी रुचि है, मेरी भी रुचि बढ़ रही है, तो इस दिशा में तेजी से काम होना चाहिए, मैं ऐसा मानता हूं। और जब इस दिशा में तेजी से काम होगा तो न्याय सबके लिए इस उद्देश्य को भी हम पूरा करेंगे। जब हम ई कोर्ट को फर्स्ट फेज में देखते हैं तो खाली कंप्यूटराइजेशन, जिसको हम हार्डवेयर का जिक्र कहते हैं, जम्मू में शायद ऑनरेबल जस्टिस कौल साहब जिसका जिक्र कर रहे थे, हार्डवेयर एंड सॉफ्टवेयर, शायद इनके भाषण के 2 अंग थे, मुझे ध्यान से मैंने सुना है। तो हम हार्डवेयर की ही ज्यादातर कंप्यूटराइजेशन हो, कंप्यूटर आ जाए, पहुंचे कि नहीं पहुंचे, इसका जिक्र हम फर्स्ट फेज में ज्यादा करते हैं और इसकी उपलब्धि की। सेकेंड फेज में हमने ई कोर्ट में सिटीजन सेंट्रिक सर्विसेज के बारे में चिंता की, तेजी से काम बढ़ा, नागरिक सुविधाएं मिली, ईज ऑफ लिविंग जिसको कहते हैं, इस दिशा में हम तेजी से बढ़े। और फेज थर्ड में ई फाइलिंग, पेपरलेस, और मुझे कभी कभी तो लगता है कि जब ई कोर्ट का फेज थर्ड में देखता हूं और अध्ययन करता हूं, समझता हूं, प्रेजेंटेशन लेता हूं, तो मुझे लगता है कि ई कोर्ट का फेज थर्ड जस्टिस डिलीवरी सिस्टम में एक रिवॉल्यूशन का काम करेगा। आने वाले समय में लोग उसको याद करेंगे कि ऐसा भी कालखंड आया जब ऐसा निर्णय लिया लोगों ने। न्याय सबके लिए, इस दिशा में हम आगे बढ़े हैं। मनोज सिन्हा साहब ने एक जिक्र किया आर्टिकल 39A का, 24 नवंबर 1948 के दिन का भी, ठीक करीब 1 साल बाद, ठीक करीब 25 नवंबर 1949, मुझे लगता है संविधान बन गया था और बाबा साहब भीमराव अंबेडकर जी का लास्ट भाषण था। 26 नवंबर 1949 को संविधान सौंप दिया था। तो ठीक करीब 1 साल बाद जब वो बोल रहे हैं और जो लास्ट भाषण होता है जिसका जिक्र मनोज सिन्हा जी ने किया, मैं रिपीट नहीं करना चाहता, लेकिन एक लाइन जरूर रिपीट करना चाहता हूं। उन्होंने कहा था कि वी आर एंटरिंग इनटू ए कंट्राडिक्शन, पॉलिटिकली वी आर इक्वल, वन वोट वन वैल्यू, बट सोशली एंड इकोनॉमिकली वी आर नॉट इक्वल। आने वाली सरकार का एक दायित्व होना चाहिए कि राजनीतिक समानता 26 नवंबर 1950 को हमें मिल जाएगी, आर्थिक और सामाजिक समानता भी मिले। न्याय सबके लिए जैसे जैसे मिलता जाएगा, ये आर्थिक और सामाजिक समानता का ही पार्ट है। मुझे लगता है कि नालसा बाबा साहब भीमराव अंबेडकर जी का सपना ही पूरा कर रहा है। मैं इसलिए के लिए नालसा के सभी अधिकारियों को बधाई भी देता हूं। एक और फेमस कोट डॉक्टर BR अम्बेडकर जी का, जो जस्टिस के बारे में कहते हैं कि जस्टिस कुछ नहीं मेरे नजरों में, जस्टिस इज अनदर नेम ऑफ लिबर्टी, इक्वलिटी एंड फ्रेटर्निटी। कितनी बड़ी बात डॉक्टर अम्बेडकर कह के जाते हैं संविधान सभा में। मैं पुनः आपका अभिनंदन करता हूं, धन्यवाद भी देता हूं, लेकिन एक चीज जरूर कहूंगा, मुश्किलें जरूर है मगर ठहरा नहीं हूं मैं। मुश्किलें जरूर है मगर ठहरा नहीं हूं मैं, मंजिल से कह दो अभी पहुंचा नहीं हूं मैं, अभी बहुत काम करना है। देयर इज ऑलवेज रूम्स फॉर इंप्रूवमेंट। और ये छोटे छोटे प्रयास जो होते हैं ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण और क्रांतिकारी सकारात्मक संदेश भी हमें दे जाते हैं। ऐसा मत समझो कि हम डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे जाएंगे, नालसा की छोटी सी बात कोई अवेयरनेस कैंप करेंगे, कोई समझेगा नहीं समझेगा, नहीं, ये छोटे छोटे प्रयास बहुत महत्वपूर्ण होते हैं। इसलिए कभी किसी कवि ने कहा है, बारिश की बूंदें भले ही छोटी हो, बारिश की बूंदें भले ही छोटी हो, लेकिन उनका लगातार बरसना बड़ी नदियों का बहाव बन जाता है। इसलिए आप बरसो, थोड़ा थोड़ा ही बरसो, नालसा के माध्यम से बड़ी नदी, गंगा जैसी नदी, पवित्र नदी बन जाएगी और तो हम सबको लाभ होगा, सबको ठंडा पानी मिलेगा, सबको सिंचाई के साधन मिलेंगे, नालसा के माध्यम से न्याय सबको मिले, हक हमारा तो भी है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
ये कहना पड़ेगा कि बहुत ही मार्मिक भाषण था मेघवाल साहब का, और मेघवाल साहब ने जो पंक्तियां यहाँ पढ़ी उनसे एक और पंक्ति मुझे याद आती है एक बड़े शायर की कि मंजिलें हैं तो रास्ते हैं, रास्ते हैं तो मुश्किलें हैं, मुश्किलें हैं तो हौसले हैं, और हमारे लिए हौसले हैं इस बात के कि हमारे साथ लीगल सर्विसेज हैं। Well, one thing is for very sure, one thing is certain, as the caravan of legal services moves ahead with greater vigor, greater vitality, the edifice of social justice is getting only strengthened and consolidated and beautified over time. And that in the process helps us to make the society in general more peaceful and a better place to live in. With these words, may I request Honorable Justice Sanjeev Khanna, Judge Supreme Court of India and Chairman Supreme Court Legal Services Committee to express his impressions on this occasion. Honorable Justice Sanjeev Khanna.
Thank you. Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, always working scholarly and dynamic Chief Justice of India and the Patron-in-Chief of the Legal Services Authority, Shri Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Judge Supreme Court of India and Executive Chairman of NALSA, a true Kashmiri, but a person who's equally at home all over India, be it Delhi, Punjab and Haryana or Tamil Nadu. Respected Shri Arjun Ram Meghwal, Minister of Justice, Law and Justice, our hospitable and generous host, Shri Manoj Sena, Lieutenant Governor, Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Brigadier Dr. B.D. Mishra, Lieutenant Governor, Union Territory of Ladakh, Shri Justice Koteshwar Singh, Chief Justice, Shri Justice Takeshwar Rabistan, and Shri Justice Atul Sridharan, judges of the High Court of Union Territory of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh. Sister and brother judges of the Supreme Court, Chief Justices of different High Courts, judges of the High Courts, District Courts, and office bearers of the Legal Services Authority and Committee. Namaste and good evening. This All India Meet of Legal Services Authority is a culmination which was preceded by 4 regional meetings at Varanasi, Udaipur, Shillong, and Mysore. These meetings have been enlightening and instructive. I'll just share one example before I proceed on to my slideshow, which will highlight what are our aims, objects, what we have achieved, and what we want to achieve. We learned for the first time there is an open jail, which I think there's now several of them, wherein the convicts are allowed to go out and work during the daytime, while the family members voluntarily remain confined to the open jail during that period. There's so many other examples of this nature which came to our light, including another example wherein persons who had been set free from an open jail made applications saying that they want to come back and work in the open jail because the job opportunities were far better. The job conditions were far better. We also had in Northeast schemes being evaluated by social audit of the persons who were supposed to get benefit of those schemes. There are state-specific legal services authorities which are specifically dealing with farmer issues as well as human-animal conflict. I'll now turn to my slideshow, which will, as I said, highlight what are the different aspects we are dealing with, what goals, what are our objectives, and what we want to achieve in future. Section 12 of the Legal Services Authorities Act 1987, if one includes and notices all the categories in it, means that 80% of the Indian population, 1.4 billion, is eligible to seek legal aid and assistance. India has the largest coverage of legal aid in the world. Eligibility is one thing, and the active need to get legal aid is another thing. This will be clear from the next two slides which will come on the screen. As per the data of National Crime Records Bureau, in 2021, 1.4 crore arrests were made in India. This is a matter of concern. The Law Minister is here. He must look into it. Nearly 1% of the Indian population was arrested. This doesn't mean they went to jail, but they were certainly asked to fill up a bond and be released on bail. 61% of the arrests were under the provisions of CRPC. That means about 89 lakh arrests were made under the provisions of the CRPC, which normally do not come to the court. They are dealt with on the executive side. About 58 lakhs arrests were made, or 39% arrests were made under the IPC or the state or the local laws. The next slide will show that at the end of 2021, more than 5,50,000 persons were in prison, out of which 77%, that is 4,27,165, were under trials and not convicts. Convicts were only 22%, that is 1,22,852. Now, how do we interact and deal with this situation? This slide gives you a glimpse of what is the legal aid in India. We have 2,341 Taluk Legal Services Committees, 703 District Legal Services Authorities, 39 High Court Legal Services Committees, 37 State Legal Services Authorities, and 1 Supreme Court Legal Services Committee. But the backbone of the persons who perform the job at the ground level are the panel advocates, who are about 49,000 plus, paralegal volunteers about 42,446. The impressive point to be noticed as far as paralegal volunteers is concerned, that women paralegal volunteers of 24,621 constitute 58% of the total number of paralegal volunteers. We also have about 8,000 pro bono legal aid lawyers. One of the questions which is normally asked is, why should legal aid be given to those who are accused of an offense? This is an issue which has come up in the West, and normally in several countries you can't get legal aid at the appellate stage. In fact, the data in India is quite opposite. Legal aid is being given to about 30% of the total number of cases pending in the trial court. The number goes to 50% when it comes to the High Court. There's a reason behind it, which I'll refer to a little later. But what is the reason why we have adopted legal aid is the mandate of the Constitution. The mandate of the Constitution, in fact, is protection of rights of all, which means the victim, the accused, as well as the witness. So legal aid, in fact, in India protects the rights of both the victim, the accused, and the witness. This is the reason why it is wrong to say that legal aid should be denied mainly because one is accused of an offense. that will be completely doing away with the constitutional promise. Legal aid does not help the guilty escape the rigors of law, but upholds the constitutional promise of legal representation to all and to provide a fair and an equal opportunity. We are not siding with the guilty when we provide legal aid. I've highlighted this aspect because some concern was raised in one of the meetings about providing legal aid to the accused. If one looks at the articles of the Constitution, we have referred to 39A as well as 38, but if one looks at Article 21A of the Constitution, it specifies and states that no person will be deprived of his life or personal liberty except in accordance with the procedure established by law. It's the later portion which gets amplified in Article 14 and 22(1). The state shall not deny any person equality before law or equal protection of laws within the territory of India. Article 22(1). No person shall be arrested, who's arrested shall be denied the right to consult and to be defended by a legal practitioner of his choice. Therefore, it's quite clear that excess and justice are inseparable. There can be no justice without equal excess. Now, there are three prongs of access to justice. One is ease of access, quality of access, and the third prong is the one on which we are now going to lay emphasis, is early access. Ease of access normally means raising awareness, raising legal literacy. We refer to reach in and reach out approach. In reach in, persons approach us for providing legal aid. In reach out approach, we approach them and provide legal aid, as well as disseminate information so that they are aware of their legal rights. As far as tackling apprehensions of quality are concerned, we have now introduced a modified legal defense scheme, which I'll be referring to in some time. At the same time, we are also dealing with the issue that the legal aid should not be treated as an authority or the arm of the state. We act independently of the state. In 2022, there were about 18,745 legal literacy clubs in schools and colleges, about 4,90,055 legal awareness programs were organized, wherein about more than 6,75 lakh persons attended these programs. We have also adopted digitized digital technology to help ease as a means for ease of access. We have legal aid case management system, a web portal on which you can get details of all the legal aid cases, the dates of hearing, what is transpired. You can track those cases, which are updated by the advocates handling those cases. We have legal services management system, an online system on which you can approach and ask for legal aid. We have e-prisons application, which is developed by National Informatics Center, a computerized platform to manage prison-related services and information. However, we have felt that there is a digital device, and many of these programs or digital platforms are not being used to the fullest effect, especially in states where there is lack of infrastructure, resources, and technology illiteracy exists. We have therefore decided to upgrade the legal services helpline numbers on a big scale, which we'll be during the course of the conference pointing out. As far as quality of access is concerned, the modified scheme for legal aid defense counsel system 22 has now been introduced, which has been referred to and is under implementation. There are some hiccups and some problems being faced. Some issues have been raised, but they are being dealt with. One interesting fact which came to our knowledge was that in fact the fee scales in some of the states in northeast of lawyers is much higher or at the same level as in the cities, metropolitan cities. So that issue is now being tackled. We have in this scheme itself a monitoring and a mentoring committee which goes into the questions of the quality of legal aid which is being provided. The early access, as I pointed out, is one area where we are now emphasizing and we like to focus on. This is an area relates to pre-arrest stage, arrest stage, and the remand stage. The reason why we are emphasizing on this area is this is the most crucial time as far as people who are marginalized and who are unaware of the legal rights are concerned. This is the time when the family and the individual can be misled, divested of money and resources, and financially exploited. In fact, what we have done is in consonance with section 41A and 41D of the CRPC. This figure gives out the details of from January to December 22, how much we were able to at pre-arrest stage deal with or interact with the persons who wanted legal aid. The figures will show that before the arrest, there were only 14,756 suspects who were provided legal assistance at pre-arrest stage, and 14,397 arrestees were provided legal assistance at police station prior to producing them in the court. But the figure jumps the moment the remand stage came in. There, about 1,40,288 arrestees were provided legal aid. Coming to the second aspect, we have about 12 schemes under NALSA relating to differently abled children, widows, senior citizens, victims of acid attack, disaster victims, victims of trafficking, commercial sexual exploitation, workers in unorganized sector, children, differently mentally disabled, mentally ill persons, so on and so forth. In addition to these schemes, we are also acting as converging nodes to ensure government schemes meant to the marginalized actually reach them. We are providing training and sensitization to stakeholders like police, lawyers, prosecutors, government servants, etc. These are the figures relating to the victim compensation which we have been, applications which we have received and we have processed and paid. About 15,000 applications during the financial year 2022-23 were directly received by us. 14,740 applications were received through the courts. In all, 29,936 applications were received. 20,900 have been processed. Payment obviously is after processing of the applications. One area which is of immense concern is witness protection. There is hardly any data with regard to the hostile witnesses. In approximate, as per my study, approximately 40% cases they are hostile witnesses, which is a very large figure. I did this study myself by analyzing about 116 judgments, which I have decided in a period of about 9 to 10 months. The figure can be a little varying between state and state. We have now what is called a Witness Protection Scheme 2018, in which we can provide a range of protection from anonymity, temporary residence in a safe house, new identity, relocation, etc. This is an area which we will be emphasizing and going into. In addition to this, we have schemes for one-stop centers for the women. Now we will be adding to this in the form of Stree Seva scheme. We have schemes for protection of child rights in which we interact with the juvenile justice boards. Street children, again we have schemes. We have schemes for family members of the prisoners. The other area which is of concern is premature release of prisoners. Again, we have on the basis of the Sonadhar decision of the Supreme Court formulated the process for premature release, parole and furlough of prisoners 2022. Then we have under trial review committee, which has been constituted in terms of the decision in inhuman conditions in 1,382 prisons. There is considerable work which has been done in these by the under trial review committees. Then comes rehabilitation and reformation. This is one area where perhaps a lot of work has to be done. I think the motto and the slogan has to undergo a change. They are not just like us or one of us. We must accept they are us. Until that change takes place, we will not be able to effectively assimilate them back into the society. Probation of Offenders Act as well as Section 360 is another area on which we'll be focusing. We have been dealing with mediation with partial success. In some centers, it's been extremely successful. During April to November 2022, about 58,408 cases were settled through mediation. But the figures with regard to Delhi are very, very impressive, which also, as far as district courts is concerned, 250,967 cases, settlement rate of more than 68% between 2005 to 2023. Similarly, Delhi High Court Mediation Center, the settlement rate is fairly high. We have been lacking as far as Commercial Courts Act is concerned, which shows that many cases, this is the data with regard to pre-institution mediation as far as commercial courts is concerned. This is a little disturbing, but the plus factor is year on year, the number of settlements by mediation, pre-institution mediation has been going up. The latest figures for 2022-23 shows about 1,449 cases were settled. We have to also go for community mediation, which has an area which we have not picked up or not examined till now, which means neighborhood, family, school, commercial, and miscellaneous, and other miscellaneous issues which can be dealt with in mediation. The last area which we are dealing with is the Lok Adalats. Lok Adalats has been fairly successful. National Lok Adalats are organized 4 times a year, and the figures, if you see, are fairly impressive. The last figure, in fact, which relates to 2023 is only for 2 Lok Adalats. The figure will go up from 5.4 crores to around 10 crores by the end of the year. So this Lok Adalats we have been able to, as far as National Lok Adalats is concerned, we have been able to deal with it quite effectively and ensure proper results. Legal aid is a work in progress. There cannot be an end. Every minute there is a new beginning. Every time we meet, there is a new beginning. And therefore, there's always a scope for improvement and addition. This conference will help us focus on our aims and objectives for the future and move forward. That's the objective of this conference. We have to fix our goals and then strive to achieve them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Lordship, for your inspiring words and primarily for this elaborate presentation that highlighted the strides made by legal services across the country and also suggested the way forward. It's my privilege now to call upon the leading light of the legal services across the country and Executive Chairman of NELSA, Judge Supreme Court of India, Honorable Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, to make the special address. Honorable Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul.
Honorable Chief Justice Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud, Honorable Brother Sanjeev Khanna, Shri Arjun Ram Meghwal ji, Shri Manoj Sinha, Shri B.D. Mishra ji, Chief Justice Koteshwar Singh, eminent judges on and off the dais, my brother judges from the Supreme Court who have come in large numbers here to encourage us, judges, the High Court, Chief Justices, former judges and Chief Justices of this court, the legal department headed by Mr. D.C. Raina, the secretariat headed by Mr. Mehta, the media people, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor to be in the midst of such a august gathering today. People that I'm close to are aware that this is a very special occasion for me. I have a deep connection with Kashmir due to my family background, and to hold the present conference in this place is truly a dream come true for me personally. It is my privilege to showcase this pristine valley to the judicial fraternity of this country. This place, as Amir Khusro immortalized in his words, as Agar Firdaus Barruwe Zami Ast, Hami Ast, Hami Ast, Hami Ast. As the Executive Chairperson of the National Legal Service Authority, I am strongly invested in the cause of providing greater proliferation of the legal aid and enhancing access to justice. To that end, I would like to offer a few personal reflections on the role of the legal services today and the strides which we have made and the ways in which we reimagine access to justice in our rapidly changing society. Our Constitution is a multifaceted document. It is the record of peoples, communities, and states coming together. It is the charter granting nationhood. It can be seen as yet a set of rules for the state and the citizenry. It is also a manifesto of sorts containing an enumeration of certain high order principles such as equality, fraternity, liberty, and democracy. However, most prominently, it is a document for the provision of justice to all, which is the thread underlying all of the Constitution's other functions. However, these principles, be they the right to equality, our individual freedom, the right to democratic representation, are all underpinned by our ability to approach the law and the appropriate machinery created for that purpose. Every assertion of right begins with the possibility of an individual making themselves visible to the organs of the law. I would assert that every process of making such individual visible in the eyes of law to grant that person a certain prominence is initiated through the effective legal representation. In other words, it is done through the provision of legal advice, most often given by lawyers. In 1933, the British House of Lords had declared that, and I quote, "Poverty is a misfortune for which the law cannot take responsibility at all." However, I am relieved to say that this view does not comport with our constitutional principles or the jurisprudence developed by the Indian courts. India's response to the House of Lords was best articulated by Chief Justice Bhagwati, who in 1986 very succinctly stated that the Indian constitutionalism makes far greater demand of its adherents. It requires judges, lawyers, and litigants to not restrict their inquiry into the narrow confines of legal texts, but to go beyond into the domain of life as it is. Thus, in a highly unequal society such as ours, the state is required to step in to ensure that a large majority of the population does not become invisible or is rendered helpless by its inability to agitate for its rights. It is apt to remember Justice Vivian Bowe's poignant observations in the case of BD Supply Company. I quote, "I am clear that the Constitution is not for the exclusive benefit of the government and the states. It is not only for lawyers and politicians and officials and those high placed. It also exists for the common man, for the poor and the humble, for those who have businesses at stake, for the butcher, the baker, and the candle maker. For those in our economic margins, the availability of legal counsel cannot be presumed and must instead be actively provided at every level. This is also the explicit mandate under Article 39A of the Constitution, and this is where NALSA, under the auspices of the Legal Services Authority Act of 1987, and the State Legal Services Authority step in. Since their introduction, it is heartening to see the rapid strides made to ensuring greater legal representation for our most marginalized and vulnerable sections of the population. I feel truly fortunate to be part of this institution, which has now become so intimately connected to the constitutional vision of equality in our country. Recently, I was privileged to be involved in the Manual of District Legal Services Authorities, which was prepared by NALSA as a comprehensive compendium for the DLSAs. This manual provides procedures for day-to-day functionings of the DLSAs, including in critical areas such as manner of processing legal aid applications, conduct of Lok Adalats, constitution of under-trial review committees, etc. The goal is to harmonize procedures across the country to inculcate a sense of uniformity and consistency and ultimately improve the quality of the legal services, based specially on our feedback in the 4 regional conferences, noticing of course that there are certain differences depending on the region, and that is taken care of. Another way in which NALSA is improving its quality of services is through the use of technology, something close to our Chief Justice's heart. This can best be seen through the work of e-Lok Adalats, which have disposed of 70 lakh cases until March 2023. This is truly a paradigm shift in the way we have traditionally conceived of legal services in India. These efforts have been supplemented by other advancements such as the Legal Aid Case Management System, the Legal Services Management System, NALSA's mobile application, and Vidhi chatbot. Our Supreme Court has tried to evolve a jurisprudence where bail is an exception rather than the rule. This is keeping in our Constitution's emphasis on protection of individual liberties. However, we have at times seen that the court's decisions do not percolate all the way down to the lower judiciary, the prison officials, and the law enforcement agencies. In this regard, NALSA has developed an e-prison platform for digitization of prison management. It ensures that the applications for remission and bail are processed swiftly, as it sends automatic prompts to the Secretary DLSA in case where under trial is not released within 7 days from the date of the order of the bail. Through automation of records, scheduling, and communication between the judiciary and the prison, it is hoped that these efforts will lead to greater proliferation of individual freedom guaranteed by the Constitution. I had taken a little judicial initiative, and since the Law Minister is present here, to request the government to consider in these 75 years of consideration of the independence of the country and to reduce the burden of the judicial proceedings pending, as also to distinguish between the more serious cases and the less serious cases. If there can be initiative of releasing of persons simply on personal bonds without going through a trial, if they have already completed a minimum trial of period of sentence of say 1/3 of the sentence or 50% of the sentence, this would help, I think, in being able to permit the judiciary to concentrate on a more serious offence cases and not go through the regular routines of every trial taking place, appeals taking place, and thereafter matters coming to the Supreme Court. This is also in the perspective of plea bargaining so far not being so successful. I still await the response of the government on the judicial side as to how this aspect can be dealt with, because it is a matter for decision to be taken on the executive side. To further reinforce these ideas, NALSA has released its guidelines on early access to justice at pre-arrest, arrest and remand stage, which provides a framework for rendering of legal assistance at each stage. These guidelines give practical, succinct information to detainees and a basic list of their rights, the legal aid options available to them, and a brief overview of criminal procedures so that the detainees can educate themselves. NALSA is also working towards assigning more qualified and experienced defense lawyers to the Legal Aid Defense Council system. Currently, more than 1,500 such councils have been appointed in 398 districts across the country. I actually take encouragement from the words of the learned Law Minister, and I am sure funds will not be an impediment in this objective of ours. Our next goal is to have a legal aid clinic in every prison. It is one task amongst many, and we have considerably long path ahead. In this regard, I am eagerly anticipating to hear from the participants about their endeavors, accomplishments, obstacles, and new practices. Such a monumental task can only be carried out with a sense of unity, and I am confident that together we will forge a brighter path towards realizing our most salient constitutional ideals. In the words of Cicero, justice looks for no prize and no price. It is sought for itself and is at once the cause of meaning of all virtues. In the end, I would like to flag an issue which came to my knowledge during the last 10 days of stay here, which is the growth of use of drugs in the population. Since the Lieutenant Governor is also here and the head of the Legal Service Authority is here, I would like to extend the National Legal Service Authority's support and assistance in this behalf. As I am told that there are many areas where counseling which is required, there are not enough counselors or not enough rehabilitation centers. Let us remember the problem of drugs is something more than simply the population being affected. I had the privilege of being the Chief Justice of Punjab and Haryana Court, and I have seen the problem permeate especially in Punjab. It is given another label also, which is drug terrorism in the sense, and this is a sensitive state, and I think every endeavor must be made here to see that this issue is taken up on some priority. ईद के मौके पर अमरनाथ की यात्रा के प्रारंभ पे मेरी एक इच्छा है कि हम लोग हाथ मिला के जोड़ के एक साथ चलें ताकि जो हमारे ऑब्जेक्टिव्स उनको अचीव कर सकें। धन्यवाद। थैंक यू। जय हिंद।
Thank you so much, Your Lordship. Thanks a lot. And at this point in time, may I request our Chief Guest, Honorable Chief Justice of India and other dignitaries on the dais to release the manual for District Legal Services Authorities prepared by National Legal Services Authority. Manual to be released by our Chief Guest, Honorable Chief Justice of India, Honorable Justice Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud, and other dignitaries on the dais. A manual prepared by NELSA for District Legal Services Authorities spread across the country. Thank you very much indeed. Some time back, as Justice Sanjeev Khanna remarked, that legal services is work in progress, and we know we have a long way to go. We have a long way to go until, in the words of Martin Luther King Jr., justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. With these words, may I request our Chief Guest, Honorable Justice Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud, Chief Justice of India and Patron-in-Chief, National Legal Services Authority, to make the inaugural address. Honorable Justice Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud.
My distinguished colleague and longtime friend, Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Executive Chairperson of NALSA, my very learned colleague, Justice Sanjeev Khanna, other distinguished sisters and brothers, I should say sister and brothers, since Justice Hema Kohli is the sole sister present here today from the Supreme Court. Shri Justice Shri Arjun Ram Meghwal, Union Minister for Law and Justice, Shri Manoj Sinha, the learned Lieutenant Governor of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and Shri Dr. Brigadier B.D. Mishra, Lieutenant Governor of the Union Territory of Ladakh, Chief Justice N. Koteshwar Singh, Justice Tashi Rajasthan, Chief Justices of all the High Courts, Judges of the High Courts, including the High Court, which is extending all the hospitality to us, members of the district judiciary, officers, office bearers and members of the legal service institutions and members of the bar, senior counsel as well. I must compliment NALSA and Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul for putting together this unique event in Srinagar. The importance of the venue goes beyond the pure symbolism of the choice of the venue. To my mind, the choice of the venue for this very significant meet from the perspective of the Indian judiciary reflects the mainstreaming of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh in the discourse on development in India. Our minds and hearts are together when we exist to serve each other. NALSA in that sense is the exemplar of our nation's commitment to serve others. This event has brought together a wealth of learning and experience of the Indian judiciary. And speaking for myself, I have been astounded as I look around at this audience of this wealth of experience which has come to Srinagar from the high courts and from my own court, the Supreme Court. In many ways, the life of a judge is a life of isolation. Part of the reason for our isolation is our own desire to preserve our own independence. I am myself sometimes accused of being a recluse. But I do believe from my own experience that travel is an essential ingredient of opening up of minds. As judges, as we know, we are lauded and honored. Mercifully, we are not worshipped. But it is when you face the majesty of nature, as I have faced during my travels in Ladakh and I've faced in the last 2 or 3 days that I've been in Jammu and Kashmir, that you realize that human existence is but a speck before the enormity of nature. But yet it is an existence with a purpose. So the more you dwell on the infinitely small nature of our existence, the more you are led to believe on the purpose behind that existence. But today we are on the 30th of June, and if I have to earn my salary justifiably on the 1st of July as Chief Justice of India, I cannot spend my next few minutes on talking about spirituality. I think I better talk about law. But I'll also dwell on law and society because NALSA is deeply connected with the social purpose of law and its application. I have a small prepared text, if only to ensure that as a judge I don't meander. But of course I will lead you into a few rivulets and streams consistent with the cultural landscape of this beautiful area. I'm delighted to deliver the inaugural address at the 19th All India Legal Services Authorities meet. I congratulate NALSA and the Jammu and Kashmir Legal Services Authority for organizing this program. This meeting and the ensuing deliberations are necessary to bolster institutional development and knowledge in the area of legal aid and legal services in India. Our Constitution seeks to create a social order based on the ideals of liberty, equality, and social justice. Our Constitution recognizes fundamental rights of every individual regardless of their social and economic status. In our courtrooms, we deal with the language of rights and entitlements on a daily basis. The Honorable Law Minister really emphasized that while listening to the NALSA song. But the greater challenge is to ensure that the Constitution and rights become accessible to common people. Since the adoption of our Constitution 73 years ago, we have taken incremental steps towards ensuring constitutionalism. Citizens, courts, the legislature, and the press have a prominent role in this process. Yet there are many social and economic barriers which prevent citizens from achieving the ideals prescribed by the Constitution. We live in a society where every aspect of our life is structured by a complex set of regulations. It is through these laws and regulations and processes and institutions created for their enforcement that citizens interact with the state. Yet in a society which is marked by social and economic inequality, the question of access to justice assumes importance particularly for the poor and the marginalized. By access to justice, I mean access to legal processes that serve as a means to attain justice. Justice is a vague concept, but the legal processes that are in place to secure justice are much more tangible. However, it is important to be cognizant of the fact that many legal processes in our country are complex by structural design. For many people, even the most basic legal step of filing a first information report becomes daunting because of various social and economic barriers. Citizens more often than not require the assistance of specialized professionals, lawyers and paralegal professionals, to secure access to justice. Hence, all of us, not just judges alone, have a salient role in demystifying and simplifying legal processes for citizens to make them more accessible to common citizens, particularly those belonging to the marginalized communities. A few years ago, the Supreme Court dealt with a case where a milkman was convicted of adulterating milk in 1980. The milkman hired a lawyer to represent him before the Supreme Court. However, the milkman, who belonged to Uttar Pradesh, had never actually met the lawyer, as he was sourced through word of mouth. The lawyers typically travel to the districts every weekend and come back with a pile of wakalatnamas and briefs. When the lawyer failed to appear repeatedly, another lawyer from the Supreme Court Legal Services Committee was appointed as an amicus curiae. It was 40 years later that the Supreme Court acquitted the milkman of the charge of adulterating milk. This case shows the importance of providing effective legal aid, especially in situations where litigants are unaware of their rights and entitlements. Just a few months ago, I heard a case where the charge arose in 9 trials involving a violation of the Electricity Act, electricity chori as we call it, of wires, transformers, other appliances. The accused pleaded guilty. He was handed down a sentence of 2 years in each of the 9 trials. But the sessions judge forgot to order that these sentences shall run concurrently. The decision attained finality. 3 years later, the accused moved the High Court under Section 482 saying, but how can I be sentenced to 18 years of imprisonment for basically the theft of electricity? The High Court dismissed the Section 482 petitions saying, sorry, your conviction has attained finality. He eventually traveled to the Supreme Court and we had to interfere. I'm mentioning this not because we did something great, but because of the fact that there are numerous people who are unable to access their rights because of unawareness, who could be subjected to 18 years of imprisonment on a charge of stealing electricity wires. The Legal Services Authorities Act 1987 has sought to humanize the law and promote social justice through delivery of legal aid and legal service. It simplified our laws and legal procedures by making them empathetic to the plight of the weaker sections of the society, something which clearly emerged in the presentation by my colleague Justice Sanjeev Khanna. It has enjoined state institutions such as the police, jails and courts to become more responsive to the needs of the poor and the vulnerable. And it institutionalized Lok Adalats to provide effective relief to citizens. The legal service institutions were entrusted with the duty to deliver legal services at all levels of society. In recent decades, NALSA has made significant strides in making access to justice a reality by implementing comprehensive legal aid programs and using the state, district and taluka legal services authorities to provide legal representation, implement legal aid schemes, organize legal awareness camps, and monitor the release of under-trial prisoners. In recent years, the district legal services authorities across the country have bridged the gap between citizens and the legal system and have emerged as the backbone of our legal services framework. Presently, we have 703 DLSAs functioning across India. Today, we have released the manual prepared by NALSA, which provide detailed guidelines to DLSAs for effective administration of legal aid and legal services. It is important that we institutionalize processes. It's important that the judicial institutions are not individual driven. We have to institutionalize what we adopt for the future. This manual will promote consistency in decision making and ensure uniformity in the functioning of DLSAs across India. I extend my congratulations to NALSA for taking the initiative to release the manual. In addition to the DLSAs, we have more than 2,300 taluka legal services authorities. In the coming years and months, we should focus our resources towards strengthening the functioning of the taluka authorities to provide an effective provision for the last mile delivery of legal services. While we celebrate the strides made by legal services institutions in broadening the horizons of access to justice, we must also be cognizant of the fact that many people in India are still deprived of free and quality legal services. We are a unique country. Out of 1.4, nearly 1.4 billion, 80% of the population in India is entitled to free legal aid. These are daunting figures. However, only a minuscule percentage of the population utilizes legal aid. According to a recent study in 2022, less than 8% of under-trial prisoners utilize legal aid and that they were entitled to. This negligible use of legal-sponsored institutions is largely a result of three factors. First, a lack of awareness about legal aid. Second, the difficulty in accessing legal aid and legal services. And third, the lack of confidence in state-sponsored legal aid and services. I will briefly dwell on each of these three thoughts. On the first issue, awareness among the public about their rights and entitlements, this is the first step towards empowerment. NALSA has developed detailed frameworks for spreading legal literacy and legal awareness to educate weaker sections of society, such as women, children, prisoners, senior citizens, persons with disability, and workers in the unorganized sector. In recent years, NALSA has carried out nationwide campaigns to reach out to people. However, citizens are still unaware about how to secure the services of legal aid. If they have to depend on a lawyer to secure information about the Legal Services Authority, then I ask myself if we have made the system accessible enough. I urge legal services institutions to be more proactive in bringing citizens within the fold of legal aid and services. One way of achieving this goal is to make effective use of social media to reach out to the target beneficiaries. The judiciary has been a poor communicator for the simple reason that we feel that we are not here to market ourselves. We are not marketing institutions. We need to use social media, which is the effective form of communication today. District and taluka legal services authorities must also effectively utilize paralegal volunteers to reach out to people in remote areas. Legal services clinics perform the important function of strengthening the capacity of law students and spreading legal awareness among vulnerable sections. As of March 2023, about 11,711 legal services clinics are functioning across India, out of which 1,100 are located in colleges and universities. But we have more than 1,700 law colleges in India. DLSAs must be proactive and take positive steps to ensure that all law colleges functioning within their jurisdiction establish legal aid clinics. These clinics must take steps to actively engage with the community, understand their needs, and make them aware of their rights. On the second issue that I highlighted about the difficulty in accessing legal services, religion, caste, and gender identity often contribute towards the marginalization of people within the legal system. Although our legal system is based on the principles of the rule of law and equal justice, we cannot shy away from the exclusionary nature of our legal system, especially for people who lack the necessary social and economic capital to navigate the legal maze with ease. A majority of under-trial prisoners in India are illiterate, poor, and belong to the marginalized sections of society. Prisoners, especially women, migrant workers, and persons who have lost contact with their families, find it difficult to comply with bail conditions. Our endeavor must be to ensure that legal aid is continuously provided to prisoners during the trial process. It is in pursuit of this goal that NALSA has recently launched the Legal Aid Defense Counsel system. Under this system, lawyers are being engaged on a full-time basis to deal exclusively with legal aid work in criminal matters. Currently, more than 1,500 counsel have been appointed across 400 districts across India. In the coming months, we must aim to implement this scheme across all the districts in the country. I am reminded of an incident where a district bar association barred legal aid lawyers from practicing because the lawyers were not registered in the state. This incident should serve as a lesson that it is a responsibility of every one of us, judges, lawyers, paralegal volunteers, and even law students, to not create impediments in the delivery of legal services, but to contribute towards creating an inclusive and accessible legal system. Another area where we are making rapid strides is the use of technology in reducing barriers to accessing quality legal aid. I am pleased to note that our legal services institutions have adopted technology as a means to reach out to people. We have operationalized the Legal Services Management System portal to allow individuals to apply online for free legal aid. Similarly, we have also developed the Legal Aid Case Management System to enhance transparency in the management of legal aid cases. Legal services institutions can make use of the case management system to monitor the progress of legal aid cases. We have already implemented tele-law service to facilitate delivery of legal information by paralegal volunteers at common service centers. As we know, under the Digital India mission of the Government of India, common service centers have been established at the level of every Gram Panchayat. And it is important in our mission that NALSA, as well as the E-Committee of the Supreme Court, are engaging with the common service centers to provide legal services of every description at the level of the Gram Panchayat. In that sense, there is a merger of the mission of the Digital India initiative of the Union Government. The tele-law facility is available in 22 regional languages. During the COVID pandemic, women and individuals belonging to the marginalized groups made extensive use of tele-law services to receive legal advice and information on issues ranging from domestic violence to property disputes. As we know, women were at the receiving end of domestic violence during the years of the pandemic. I'm optimistic that the use of technology to facilitate legal services, coupled with other initiatives such as the e-courts project, will expand access to justice by reducing the costs of delivering legal services and providing people with free and reliable legal information. The third and the final reason for the underutilization of legal services is the lack of confidence in the services provided by legal services institutions. For people to trust legal aid, it must be competent and of a desired quality. Currently, more than 50,000 lawyers and 42,000 paralegal volunteers are providing legal aid at various levels across India. These lawyers and paralegal volunteers often serve as a bridge between citizens and legal service institutions. We need to further increase the capabilities of all lawyers and paralegal volunteers, encourage them to unlearn their social biases, and adequately incentivize their efforts to enable them to understand and address the legal problems of people. I would urge the legal service institutions to encourage more women and transgender persons to serve as lawyers and paralegal volunteers. Their presence will help the legal services institutions in reaching out to the women and transgender community, who are often less trusting of legal institutions and persons associated with it. We must also constantly evaluate and monitor the delivery of legal services to help identify the gaps in the delivery of legal services to people. In this endeavor, NALSA has operationalized under-trial review committees across all districts in India to periodically monitor delivery of legal aid to under-trial prisoners. Through such initiatives, we need to guarantee that no person is left behind in their pursuit of access to justice. Another reason why many citizens in India distrust legal institutions is complex legal processes and judicial delay. To tackle this problem, legal services institutions should encourage people to use alternative dispute resolution mechanisms to settle their disputes. By providing quick and effective remedies, ADR mechanisms can help preserve the confidence of people in the justice delivery system. In this year, until June alone, the National Lok Adalat has successfully disposed of more than 3.6 crore cases. Undoubtedly, ADR mechanisms play an important role in providing equal access to justice. So the large number of High Court Chief Justices present here, there's one aspect which I must emphasize, which is the need for us to re-engineer our rules. Our rules were designed when summons were served on horseback and camels. Those rules are not relevant for the times in which we live. But we have to re-engineer our rules, whether it is in the form of our civil manuals, in the criminal manuals, to make them more relevant to our times, flexible, in ease of application. Before I conclude, let me just highlight one facet. Our judiciary is generally known by the decisions which we deliver, or sometimes the decisions which we don't. We are also known by the delays in the judicial process. But very little is known about the work which is done in the back offices of the Indian judiciary. And it is important that we highlight the work which is done in the back offices of the Indian judiciary as well, because that is the spine of our judiciary. So let me give you just a few statistics before I bore you for the evening. The e-Tal website, which is really the central functioning point of the e-court services, recorded 2.45 billion transactions, billion, I'm not saying million, billion transactions in 2020, 3.20 billion e-transactions in 2021, 3.26 billion transactions in 2022, and over 1.3 billion transactions between 1st of January 23 to 27th of June 2023. E-court services have reached out to 13.91 billion e-transactions since the inauguration of the website in March 2013. In 2023 alone, up to 27th of June 23, for which I have data, 63.8 million text messages, SMSs, were sent to citizens as part of our e-court services at the rate of 3,60,000 per day. More than 15 million downloads have taken place on our mobile app as of 26 June 2023. We have an automated emailing service which we provide to citizens. In 2023, up to 27th of June 2023, 61.3 million emails have been sent to litigants across India at the average daily rate of 3,46,000. These are the figures of the work which is going on in the Indian judiciary, which is never noticed when people speak about delays in the judicial process. I think it is important that we market ourselves for the nation to know the kind of work which is being done in order to understand the seriousness with which the common citizens' problems are attended to by the legal institutions within the country. Thus, in conclusion, I would like to thank all the office bearers, members, lawyers, paralegal volunteers for striving to make the constitutional goal of social justice a reality. But we still have a lot of work cut out for us to ensure that opportunities of securing justice are equally available to every individual in our society. We still face many institutional and societal challenges in reaching out to people and providing them competent legal aid. I'm sure that these and many such similar issues will be a subject matter of discussion for the technical sessions which are scheduled tomorrow. I'm confident that we will make a genuine effort to overcome these challenges with vision, resolve, innovation, and dedication. And what better example can we have of vision, resolve, innovation, and dedication than this galaxy of talent from across the country which is present here today in Srinagar as part of this unique social initiative of NALSA. Namaskar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Lordship, for these inspiring words. And thanks in particular for spelling out so very eloquently that there's an urgent need to broaden the ambit of legal services across the country. And there's also the need to improve the effectiveness of legal services across the country. Finally, may I request Honorable Justice Tashi Repstan, Judge High Court of J&K in Ladakh, to propose a formal vote of thanks. Honorable Justice Tashi Repstan.
Good evening to all. Honorable Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, Chief Justice of India and Patron-in-Chief NALSA, Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Judge Supreme Court of India and Executive Chairman NALSA, Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjeev Khanna, Judge Supreme Court of India and Chairman Supreme Court Legal Services Committee, Honorable Judges of Supreme Court of India, Honorable Minister for Law and Justice, Shri Arjun Ram Meghwal, Honorable Lieutenant Governor UT of Jammu and Kashmir, Shri Manoj Sinha ji, Honorable Lieutenant Governor UT of Ladakh, Brigadier Dr. B.D. Mishra ji, Honorable Mr. Justice N. Koteshwar Singh, Chief Justice of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh High Court, and Patron-in-Chief, J&K Legal Services Authority, Honorable the Chief Justices of all High Courts, Honorable Executive Chairperson State Legal Services Authorities, Honorable Chairpersons High Court Legal Services Committees, Honorable Judges of the High Court of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, respected spouses of Honorable Judges, esteemed former Chief Justice and Judges of this High Court, senior advocates present here, Member Secretary NALSA and along with his team of officers and officials, Mr. Arun Kumar Mehta, Chief Secretary UT of Jammu and Kashmir, advisor to the Lieutenant Governor of J&K, along with all the senior dignitaries of the civil administration of J&K, Mr. Dilbagh Singh, Director General of Police, along with his officers from police departments, Mr. Kotwal, advisor to the Lieutenant Governor of UT of Ladakh, along with his team of officers, Mr. Shahzad Azim, Registrar General, High Court of Jammu and Kashmir, along with his team of registry, Member Secretary, Legal Services Authority of J&K, along with his team of officials, distinguished invited guests, students from the Law College, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a proud moment for the Jammu and Kashmir Legal Services Authority to host this All India Legal Services Authority meet under the aegis of National Legal Services Authority. And I am deeply thankful to the Honorable Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, Patron-in-Chief, NALSA, and Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Executive Chairman, NALSA, for choosing Kashmir as the venue for holding the event. I consider it my good fortune to extend my warm receptions and heartiest gratitude to everyone who have made it convenient to attend this meet. Traditionally and historically, Kashmir has been the cradle of communal amity and interfaith unity. It has been blessed in abundance with the rich and vibrant spiritual history and has been called as Rishivir, or the land of sand and seeds. The surreal and the enchanting beauty of this paradise on earth, in addition to the climate advantage that it enjoys and its rich heritage in the form of its culture, cuisine, art, literature, and hospitality, cumulatively constitute the essence of Kashmiriyat. Kashmir is also the ancient seed of the learning and intellectual inspirations. In the fact, one of the oldest manuscripts of the Rig Veda was written in Kashmir. But the people of Kashmir, unfortunately, have gone through uncountable miseries and deprivations in the wake of unrest and turmoil in the valley, and for obvious reasons, the constitutional visions of access to justice has remained beyond the bounds of availability to the significant sector of the society in this part of the world. The extensive network of legal services authorities and committees at the Tahsil, district and UT level endeavors to safeguard the constitutional pledge of accessible and equal justice to the vulnerable and marginalized section of the society that are now clamoring for right to legal aid, which is formally entrenched in Section 12 of Legal Services Authorities Act. I understand that at the state or UT level, although there are requirements many differ, but challenges being faced in meeting the objective of access to justice are more or less common and have similar impact. Our togetherness today indicates that we are united in our unwavering resolve to ensure accessibility of effective legal services. Let's look forward to fruitful outcome of these congregations with sincere hope and trust that common operating standards will be evolved by sharing the best practice and exchange of ideas, some of which will come in handy to ameliorate the sufferings of people of Jammu and Kashmir also. I remain indebted to all of you for your kind presence. NALSA has been flag bearer in providing competent legal services to the weaker sections of the society at no cost, and under the dynamic patronage of Honorable Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, it is constantly evolving ideas and mechanisms to ensure that legal aid and assistance reaches at the every doorsteps of those who require it. Justice Chandrachud, as we all know, is a visionary and a reformist at heart. He is compassionate and empathetic towards human suffering and has been vocal in flagging concern about the accessibility of legal aids to persons in need. Therefore, it is apt that the Chief Justice of India is chairing this meet, which shall begin a new chapter in the history of legal aid movement. Today, I express my sincere thanks to Justice Chandrachud for sparing his valuable time and for gracing the functions. Also on the occasion, I may personally request Justice Chandrachud for his magnanimity in sparing some of his precious time for visiting Ladakh, which will certainly encourage all efforts and activities in the legal sphere. I am extremely indebted to Honorable Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Judge, Supreme Court of India and Executive Chairperson, Nalsa, for his gracious presence in the event. Justice Kaul, who is in his homeland today, has made significant contributions for shaping up the legal services program in the country, and his encouraging presence in this event shall galvanize efforts of all ranks and cadre of legal services authorities at all levels. I express my heartfelt gratitude to Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjeev Khanna, Judge, Supreme Court of India and Chairperson, Supreme Court Legal Services Committee, for gracing the meet. His presence, Justice Khanna is acclaimed for his intelligence and competence, and we are indeed fortunate to have his guidance for tuning our skills for making contribution to the legal aid movement. I express my heartfelt gratitude to Honorable Supreme Court judges, Chief Justice of all High Courts, Executive Chairpersons, State Legal Services Authorities, Chairperson High Court Legal Services Committee, and judges of High Courts for their inspiring presence, which has added more meaning and dimension to this meet. We all are committed to implement the ideas of legal services inherent in the Constitution and the observance of the Gandhian philosophy of Sarvodaya, upliftment of all, and what better way to do it than ensuring equal access to justice for all. I also express my gratitude to the respected spouses of Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court, as well as the Chief Justices and other Honorable Judges. We are honored by the presence, among others, of the Honorable Minister of Law and Justice, Shri Arjun Ram Meghwal, who is known to have a deep interest in the efficient functioning of the judicial system and has extended unstinting support for the cause of legal services. We are indeed thankful to you, sir. I also thank Shri Manoj Sinha ji, Lieutenant Governor, Jammu and Kashmir, and Brigadier B.D. Mishra, Lieutenant Governor of UT of Ladakh, for gracing the functions. The administration of both the UTs have always ardently supported the cause of judiciary. Legal services is a collaborative effort, and I sincerely hope and trust that the cooperation and coordination between two important pillars of democracy shall accelerate the welfare programs and initiatives for the people of both the UTs. I thank you all once again. It is a perfect opportunity to express my gratitude to Honorable Mr. Justice N. Koteshwar Singh, the Chief Justice of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh High Court and Patron-in-Chief J&K Legal Services Authority, for taking the initiative of organizing this meet and for his consistent guidance in the conceptualizations and executions of the meet. My Lord has a strong and continued penchant for legal services, particularly the issues relating to inequality and its spectrum. State of affairs of under trials, languishing in jails, and involvement concern, and has been leading from the front in all activities being undertaken by the J&K Legal Services Authority. As I express my sincere thanks, I hope that his vision shall guide us in all future endeavors. I owe a deep sense of gratitude to my sister and brother judges at the High Court for their active interest in supervising arrangement to ensure that the event is conducted successfully, and I profoundly thank to all for their cooperation and support. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the former Chief Justices and judges of this High Court who are present here today. I am indeed grateful to Shri D.C. Rana, Advocate General, and his entire team of officers and members of the bar, and the senior advocates, particularly the panel lawyers, and take this opportunity to underline their significant roles and responsibility in devising tools to meet challenges in gaining access to justice, being an elite class and a major stakeholder in the system of administration of justice. They have to perform a proactive role in breaking barriers that hampers the pace of attainment of justice. We owe a deep sense of gratitude to Member Secretary Nalsa and her entire team, who have been extremely cooperative, and we look forward to more such association in future. The holding of this All India meets has been made possible by the dedicated and industrious efforts of Mr. Shahzad Azim, Registrar General, and his team of officers and officials, and Mr. M.K. Sharma, Principal Secretary to the Honorable the Chief Justice of J&K and Ladakh, and all the judicial officers, as well as the officials from the registry and subordinate courts, who have executed the assigned task to perfections. The wheels of preparations had begun rolling months in advance, and the organized efforts of the various subcommittees have turned ideas into working reality. I heartily thanks to them. I also acknowledge the tireless efforts of Mr. Amit Gupta, Member Secretary, Legal Services Authority, and his team of officers and officials for ensuring success of the program. Our gratitude is also due to Mr. Arun Kumar Mehta, Chief Secretary, along with his senior officers of Government of J&K, and Mr. Dilbagh Singh, Director General, along with his entire team of Police Department, and also Mr. Achal Sethi, Secretary to the Government Department of Law and Justice and Parliament Affairs, for extending full cooperation in making arrangement and ensuring that the facilities extended by the various departments of Government of J&K are in place and at our disposal. We place on record our deep appreciation and gratitude to all concerned departments of the Government of UT of J&K for cooperation extended and facilities provided for the successful holding of the meet. We also thank the Director SKICC and his team for providing the logistic and other facilities at the venue. Our words of thanks in advance to the media, both print and electronic, for evincing interest in giving coverage with a request for performing an effective role in disseminating the message of the meet with positive and due promptitude. Swami Vivekananda has said, "Take up an idea, devote yourself to it, struggle on in patience, and the sun will rise for you." Legal aid is a constitutional idea supported by Article 21 and 39A of the Indian Constitution. Although a lot has been achieved, we still have miles to go before we rest. In fact, a lot more needs to be done to utilize the full potential of legal services legislation, and the time is now to redeem the solemn pledge to secure justice, social, economic, and political to the people of our nation. At a personal level, this can be done by using the Gandhian talisman, which must become our test. The self-posed question should be, how is our work today going to impact the life of the poorest and most vulnerable persons? If we find an answer, and a convincing one, we are on the right track. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I once again express my sincere gratitude to everyone and sincerely wish great success of this event. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Your Lordship. Thanks a lot. We're nearing the conclusion, the end of this event. the inaugural session actually. So far, so good. It's really been a very beautiful and a very memorable inaugural session. And what better way to capture the memories, what better way to keep the memories alive than to capture them, than to preserve them in the shape of photographs. So after this session is over, I'll be requesting you formally to proceed to the jetty point where we'll be capturing photographs of this wonderful audience, our dignitaries on the dais, in 3 groups, because the audience is of course quite big, quite handsome in number. The first group would comprise our Chief Guest, Honorable Chief Justice of India, Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court of India, and Honorable Chief Justices of the High Courts. The second group would comprise Honorable Chief Justice of India, Honorable Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Honorable Justice Sanjeev Khanna, Honorable Members of the Advisory cum Consultative Panel of NALSA, Honorable Executive Chairman of the State Legal Services Authorities, and Honorable Chairman of the High Court Legal Services Committees. And the third group would feature Honorable Chief Justice of India, Honorable Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Honorable Justice Sanjeev Khanna, Member Secretary and Director NALSA, Member Secretaries of State Legal Services Authorities, Secretary SCSLC, and High Court Legal Services Committees, that's the Supreme Court Legal Services Committee and the High Court Legal Services Committees, and other officers. We're being told that our Chief Guest has a flight to catch, but we'll be requesting him very humbly to stay back for the few moments so that these photographs are captured in the right earnest. And just as we conclude, a final couplet for you, because as we have been remarking over time, as all the speakers have been remarking in the course of the proceedings, that we have a long way to go on the path of legal services. कि सितारों से आगे जहां और भी हैं, अभी इश्क के इम्तिहान और भी हैं. सितारों से आगे जहां और भी हैं, अभी इश्क के इम्तिहान और भी हैं. इसी रोज़ शब में खोकर न रह जा कि तेरे ज़मानो मकान और भी हैं. I would also be requesting the Honorable Lieutenant Governor and the Law Minister to stay back for the photographs. Thank you so much, and may I now request you all to rise for the National Anthem. Thank you so much. I request you to proceed to the jetty point for the photographs. Thank you once again.